New. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good evening slash night. I don't know which one. Good evening, everyone. Okay, firstly, I would like to welcome everyone to this session. Let me just remove this. Okay, sorry. Sorry. Okay, firstly, I would like to welcome everyone to this session. So this is a 3-minute FYP presentation session. No competition. No one has the time to compete with each other. We are presenting, okay? We are all presenting, not me, my offerings. I'm offering the students, okay, to present. All right, so, okay, this is 3-minute, as I said, 3-minute FYP presentation session. I am Dr. Rabiatul Adawiyah Muhammad Saleh, or also known as Dr. Ruby from the Department of English, Language and Literature, from the Kuliah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences, KK Chairs, IUM. I'm also the director for Child Bilingualism Center. So the name is a research center. What do we study? Child bilingualism. Like it's self-explanatory, right? All right. Okay. So today I would like to, as you all know, today I would like to share with you my FYP students, the research from my FYP students, final year project students. So before we proceed, just some background. FYP, this is the first batch of FYP at the department. All right. Before this, we never had FYP. During my time, I think this is the first batch. So it's quite a historic moment. All right. So at the department, FYP, certain departments, they have different ways of handling FYP. So for our department, it's thesis based. So there are 2 semesters. So it's quite intense actually. So 2 semesters. So FYP1, last semester, the students had to do a proposal, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. All right, so chapter 1, introduction, chapter 2, literature review, chapter 3, methodology. So that's the proposal. They need to get that approved before they can move on to this semester. All right, chapter, which is FYP2. So after the proposal is approved, then only they can move on, embarking on their research, okay, this semester. So having said this, with the pandemic still raging, I think it's a marvelous feat that these students managed to complete their final year project. Don't you think so? With the pandemics and all that, with everything's happening. And they started this FYP project during the pandemic time, which is what? Last September, right? So it was during the pandemic time, it continues. And yes, I would like to say I am actually super proud. That's why I'm having this session, just to show off some of their work, okay? Not all, it's just 3 minutes, yeah? And also, by organizing this session, I also like to show to the next batch of FYP, the 181 students, 172 students, that yes, it is, I wouldn't say difficult, it is actually time consuming. There's a lot of work involved, but it is very, very much doable if you work closely with your supervisor and you put in some effort, as you can see from the presentation afterwards. Yeah? All right, having said that, before we begin, some rules. Please mute yourself. Otherwise, I have a lot of my co-hosts here who are very vigilant in muting people. They are very trained, throws mute. Right? Or remove. If you behave inappropriately, remove that person. All right. Okay. If you have questions, I really encourage questions, but because the nature of the session is this, because it's a 3-minute presentation, all the questions will be at the end after everyone has presented. All right. Is that okay? Everyone understand that? All right. So if you have questions, for example, for Iza, for Anissa, so jot down, ask them later after everyone has presented. Yeah. Okay. So for the presenters, you have 3 minutes, and then when you have used up those 3 minutes, I will sound the alarm, which is my voice. I don't know, sound the alarm. I said hello. That's all. That the first alarm, the first hello, is the 3 minutes up, which means you only have 1 more minute left. All right. So once you heard my hello, once you hear that hello, meaning you need to start wrapping up. All right. Are we clear about the rules? Okay. So without further ado, we will begin. Oh, okay. I have to let someone share screen, all participants. All right. Who can start? Okay. All right. Okay. So we have our first presenter, which is Sister Nur Shazana Abdul Shukur. So, yes, Shazana, please come forward. Share your screen. Share yourself. Share yourself. Show yourself first.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ruby. All right, let me just share my screen real quick. 1 second.
Okay.
Okay.
Share. Then I'll have to start timing. Yeah. Okay.
Am I sharing my screen?
Has started screen sharing.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Start.
Assalamualaikum and a very good evening, everyone. I am Siti Nurshazana binti Abi Shukur, and my undergraduate thesis is on the acquisition of English articles among early English as a second language learners, right? So in general, the study on the acquisition of English articles among early ESL learners have been done before by past researchers. However, in the Malaysian context, this area of study is underexplored in relation to examining the English article acquisition in Malaysian primary schools, right? So in my thesis, I investigated the types of articles produced by the Malaysian children and the frequency of English articles produced by the children in the narrative elicitation session. So in my study, I chose 4 9-year-old primary school students as my participants. And the method of me choosing my participants is using selective sampling based on the interest of the study, which is on primary school students. That is my focus. So this type of sampling procedure is also known as non-probabilistic purposive sampling. So my thesis uses the research design of a cross-sectional group case study. And the way that I collect my data to do my thesis is that I use the narrative elicitation session recording using a wordless picture book. So in this slide, you can see a diagram showing a section of the wordless picture book. And how this book looks like is that it's just a book filled with pictures and 0 words. So this encourages the children to be creative in telling their own stories from start until the end. So in this task, the children were asked to narrate the wordless picture book from start until the end. So based on my data collection, this is the findings that I have come out with. So, so my findings indicate that all 4 children exhibited the acquisition of the definite article the. So there are four participants here, and the examples of the definite article the being used is in the word in the sentence, the baby is holding a bread and 8 peacocks saw the toast. So it is safe to conclude that there is a positive correlation between the acquisition of English articles a and the proficiency level of children L2 learners. It seems that the children who are more exposed to the English language appears...
1 minute left.
Thank you, Doctor. It seems that the children who are more exposed to the English language appear to use articles correctly in comparison to children who are not exposed to the English language. However, as I mentioned earlier, in this diagram also, I only focus on articles a and the. This is because article n is not used by all children, regardless of their proficiency level. So on that note, thank you.
All right, great. So you have according to the time here, 3 minutes, 25 seconds. Not so bad, huh? Very well done. All right, so thank you so much, Shazana. Now we move on to Nur Alia Atika. Yes, you have to unmute yourself.
Oh, hi, Doctor. Wait, let me share my screen, please.
All right.
Can you guys see?
All right, yes. Okay, whenever you're ready. Are you ready now?
Yes.
Okay, so now one, so like a marathon, yeah? Okay, you can start now.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good evening everyone. My name is Alia and I'll be presenting on Malaysian parents' language ideology. So basically the term ideology refers to the belief that one has towards something. In this case, it's the belief of Malaysian parents perceiving how Malay and English languages are. So this study aims to investigate the parents' ideology of Malay and English languages and whether their ideology of Malay and English influence their home language practice. Two research questions were targeted in this study, which were what are the parents' ideologies on Malay and English, and to what extent do the parents' ideology on Malay and English influence their home language practice. This study applies the qualitative approach whereby the interviews were recorded, transcribed, and analyzed. 5 Malaysian parents who reside in semi-urban areas were interviewed in this study. 10 questions were addressed to each participant, which consisted of 2 sections, which were demographic and research. The demographic questions refer to the background of the parents and their children, while the research questions are related to their perceptions towards Malay and English, and the daily language used by them towards their children. The interviews were transcribed using a software called Elan. As you can see here are the parents' background information which were who participated in this study. All participants in this study were all mothers. So here are the results. Here you can see that all 5 parents responded that they use a mixture of both Malay and English when it comes to daily use of language with their children at home. And here they agree that learning 2 languages, Malay and English, at the same time will help in developing their children's language acquisition. Only 2 parents agreed that their children's language acquisition will have a negative impact when they learn 2 languages at the same time, because they believe that their children will have difficulties in understanding new English words, thus causing them to direct translate the words into Malay, as Malay is their native language. So here is the overview in which how the parents who perceive learning 2 languages at the same time gives positive impact to their children's language acquisition, whereby all 5 parents speak both Malay and English at home. And finally, here are the parents' perceptions on on children learning only one language, either Malay and English. As you can see, all 5 parents agree that the children will have a negative impact if they learn only one language, either Malay or English. Only 2 parents agree that the children will have a positive impact when it comes to learning only one language, either Malay or English, because they believe that when their children learn only one language, their children
time's
are
up.
able.
So you have 1 more minute. Continue.
Okay. Their children will be able to sustain the use of the native language, which is Malay. So here is the overview when parents who perceive that children learning only one language, either Malay or English, as positive. So that's all from me. Thank you.
All right. Also 3 minutes 25 seconds. All right. Thank you, Alia.
Thank you. Dr.
Now we move on to Sister Mardia. Mardi,
Yes.
where's Mardi?
Here.
All right, Mardi, whenever you are ready, you can start sharing your slides. Where are you first?
Sorry, okay.
All right. Okay, I can see you. All right, Mardi.
Okay. All right. So let me present my slides. All right. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So, are you ready now? Yes. Of course, the answer is yes. Cannot know.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Ready?
All right. You can start now.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Mardia, and I'll be presenting on parents and teachers of Malaysian kindergarten children's English language proficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, do you think it's weird if you see some of children who can speak a little bit of English? I think it's not, because English has been currently widely accepted in our society, right? So, the Ministry of Education has imposed the policy of the English language at the kindergarten level, and it functions as prepare the children for enrolling to their primary school. However, some teachers and some parents might be underestimate the language proficiency. What I want to find out here, in my paper, is what is the parent's perception, what is the teacher's perception, and to what extent do both parents and teachers differ from each other. So in order for me to answer these three research questions, I have used mixed method, where one of it is survey in Google Form. The participants were given choices from level 1, which is poor, to level 5, which is excellent, to rate the children's level of English proficiency. Another one is I use qualitative method, which is interview, to give some room for the participant to give their opinion and explanation. Later on, I transcribed their answers using ELAN and tabulated both data manually. So for the information, my participant consists of two groups, which are 5 parents and 5 general education kindergarten teachers, which came from semi-urban area in Gombak, Selangor.
Might be breaking up a bit.
I have found out here. I'm sorry, maybe you can see here. 4 out of 5 parents have rated their children's English proficiency around level 3, which is average, to level 5, which is excellent. However, it contradicts with the teacher's perception, where the teachers rated around level 1, which is poor, until level 3, which is average. So you guys can see here the big difference, where the parents seems to be more optimistic and have high perception, while the teacher seems to be a little bit pessimistic in the study. And from the data collected, the similarities, we can find that both parents and teachers believe that the parents give the most influence to the children in language proficiency. So last but not least, throughout the study, I have encountered a few limitations where I have restricted access to the sample groups as they hesitate and also they hesitate to share their personal opinions with me. And also the usage of quantitative methods in collecting the data have given me limited answers as they are no further explanation. So I would recommend the future researcher to use qualitative methods for both sample group, for example, using interview, and also they should include a test study to assess the students' performance and use it as benchmark in the paper. That's all from me. Thank you and all the best.
All right, 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Thank you, Marty. All right.
All right.
Okay, next we have Sister Iza.
All right. Hi, everyone. Wait a second. I'll share my screen. All right. Can everyone see my presentation?
Yes, I
All
can.
right. That's great. Okay.
Okay, are you ready? Okay.
Okay.
I forgot.
Okay. All right. I'm ready now.
Okay, you can start.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. So my name is Iza Imani, and I'll be talking about the acquisition of English regular and irregular verbs among Malay English bilingual children in Malaysia. So, sorry. So firstly, I'll talk about the significance of the study and research questions. Sorry, that was a typo there. Okay, so the significance of this study is to add on existing research, whereas because while during this study, we found out that previous research are only related to older participants such as secondary and tertiary students, or the works are done outside of Malaysia. So the next one is it helps educators plan out lesson plans. So with this study, it can help educators and policymakers to plan out lessons especially for Malaysian primary schools. So the theoretical framework that I've used is the Payment processability theory. I'm sure if you've taken psycholinguistics, you'll be very familiar with this. And also my research questions are, firstly, what are the regular and irregular verbs uttered by the bilingual children? And the second one is what
is the frequency of the utterances for regular and irregular verbs by the participant. So how I do my research is, firstly, the research design is a mixed design, whereas qualitative in terms that we have a narrative elicitation session, just like Sister Shazana earlier, and quantitative in terms of analyzing the frequencies of the utterances. So our participants are 9-year-old Malaysian primary school children, which we categorize into two, which is firstly simultaneous bilinguals who are exposed to two language before right after birth, not really right after birth, but since birth, and also sequential bilinguals, which they learn the second language after the age of 4. So the instrument that we use is ELAN. I'm sure, again, if you're taking psycholinguistics, you'll be very familiar with ELAN. And okay, so for the data collection, just like Sister Shazana's study, we use a wordless storybook. And for data analysis, we would transcribe the narration earlier, and we put the data into keyword in context quick, which produces a word concordance. So sorry. All right. So last but not least, our findings. So throughout the findings and throughout the data, we found out that simultaneous bilinguals, the children who has been exposed since birth, produce 8 regular verbs, such as close and grab, and 38 irregular verbs, which like rose, ate, and done. So for sequential bilinguals, the ones who learn the second language after the age of 4, they pronounce only irregular verbs, which is like 20 irregular verbs, which is got and gone. So what we can find here is that simultaneous bilinguals use more irregular, both of them use more irregular verbs. Yeah. All right, so that's all from me. Thank you very much.
All right, yeah, 3 minutes, 8 seconds. Very, very good. Right. Okay, thank you, Iza. Now Ajna's not here, so she's unwell. So we move on to Sister Amira Faika. Faik, where are you?
I'm here.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
All right. So
Okay, I share my screen.
Yes.
Where's the button?
Okay, take a deep breath. Down there. It's just there, next to chat.
Okay, the green one. Sorry, I was reading the words. Astaghfirullah.
All right.
Okay, continue.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Can everyone see my slides?
All right. Yes. Everyone, as in me, yes. I don't know about other people.
Can I just see?
Yeah, I can see, which I assume everyone can see. All right.
All right.
So are you ready?
Okay. All right.
Take a deep breath. Nothing to worry. No one wants to eat you. No one wants to eat you. You are fine.
Okay.
All right. Ready? So I'm going to start now. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay.
So, hello everyone. I'm Amira, and I'm going to share on the. Oops. Sorry, that's my
it's
timer.
not even too start.
So,
Okay, we have to reset.
let's just take that in. It's okay.
No, okay,
So-
reset. Okay. Start again. All right.
Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Amira, and I'm going to share my research on the home language environment and vocabulary acquisition among Malaysian primary school children. So Malaysia is a multicultural country with Malay as the official language, which exists alongside other languages such as Mandarin, Tamil, Hokkien, and other indigenous languages. English is a dominant second language in Malaysia, which means that it is taught in school and spoken in the public and private domains, mainly in the urban areas. So my research objective is to examine the correlation between the home language environment and the English vocabulary size of the children. It is important because we can see how Malaysian children develop English in the local context and thus suggest more effective and conducive home environment and to help develop their English vocabulary. So this is a mixed method research with the participants being 3 primary school children. They are all 10 years old Malay English bilinguals from the same school. As for the parents from whom we gathered the home language environment data, they are all mothers to these respective children. This is their linguistic background, which we can see that they have similar English dominant linguistic background. So to look at the children's lexical diversity, first we used elicitation session in which the children were required to spot the difference and narrate a wordless picture book. The session is recorded, later transcribed using ELAN, and then we analyze using the type token ratio. So the type token ratio is used to investigate the lexical diversity of the children's vocabulary during the session. Next, to look at the home language environment, we administered parental questionnaire through Google form containing 21 questions. So the output of the questionnaire, coupled with the TTR result analysis, helps us to see the relationship between the home language environment and the vocabulary size or development of the children. So what we found is that despite their similar linguistic, English dominant linguistic background, and the differences in the number of activities that their parents participated together. These activities are listening to music, watching television, and playing games. They have similar TTR result, with Rina having a slightly higher TTR than the rest of the children, Sarah and Lily. So this is because, like I said before, these three kids have similar English dominant background. So this study, one of the limitations during the study is the lack of time because of the FYP being 1 year. So the development of the data development cannot be extended to a longer time. So we suggest a longitudinal study for future research to have a more comprehensive data on the children's language development. That's all from me. Thank you.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
But you sound like a train. Like
I tried.
Okay, understandable, but you sound like a train. All right, not train wreck, just a train. All right, it's good. All right. Okay, now we move on to Sister Shazani. You have to stop. All right. Thank you, Amira. We move on to Sister Shazani Akila.
Okay.
Where are you? Okay.
Yeah. Can you see my screen, Doctor?
Yes. That's
Okay, I
it.
assume
The
everyone
only
asked
thing, yes, the only thing matters. My
Yes. Okay.
All right. Okay,
Okay.
wait, hold on. Stop. Okay, reset. All right, you can start now.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So this is the title for my final year project. So basically through this research, I wanted to study about the grammar and vocabulary of Malaysian children at the time during which they begin their formal education. So the reason for this study is very much related to the status of English education in Malaysia itself. Okay, so I have listed some of the educational reforms in Malaysia that involve English education. So we have PPSMI, MBM, MBI, and so on. But the thing about all of these reforms is that they are all targeted to primary and or secondary schools only, not the preschools. So basically, there is not much guideline on how English education should be implemented for students at preschool level. So it is hoped that with this study, we can shed a light on how children acquire English in the local context. And hence, it would hopefully serve as a guideline for educators as well as policymakers to come up with an effective educational plan. So these are my research questions. For the data was collected through elicitation tasks where I showed them pictures of verbs and nouns, and these children just responded to it. And for the data analysis, it was the audio recording was transcribed using ELAN software, and for the word token and type, I used the keyword in context or quick software, and their grammatical forms or their grammatical development was assessed within the framework of processability theory or PT that views language acquisition in hierarchical stages. So these are the findings. First, for the vocabulary, there are a total of 80 word tokens. And out of 80, 55 are in English. And 2 out of these 3 children, they produce significant number of vocab. So let's name them Maria and Misha. They respectively produce 32 and 23 vocab. And it is also discovered that they produce more nouns than verbs. For their grammatical forms, 2 have passed the category procedure in PT. And this is like the second stage in PT, and it's marked by the presence of the verb in their utterance. So they produce words like reading, sleeping. And the other one is identified as the Malay dominant child, in which he did not produce anything in English, but he did understood the instruction that was given in English. So what we can conclude from these findings is that these children, they are all at a different level of English language acquisition. For example, we have Maria, who spoke in English throughout the session, Misha, who spoke in both English and Malay, and Alif, who understood the instruction but only responded in Malay. So this is important for educators to acknowledge this matter in order for them to create like a lesson plan that is tailored to the needs of these children. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Yes, 3 minutes, 8 seconds. Very good. All right.
How do
Okay.
I
You okay. How do you what? You just
how do I stop? Okay, just find the
all
button.
right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you did well in the beginning. After that, the finish the cognitive capacity. Like what? All right. The last one we have Anissa. All right. Okay,
Okay.
Anissa. All right, well, hold on, reset. Okay, Anissa, whenever you're ready, ready now?
Wait, let me full screen it. Okay. Can you see it up
All
there?
right, yes.
Okay,
Okay,
ready.
you can start now. Okay.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Hi, everyone. I am Anissa Hanim, the last presenter for today. So my final year project is about the monolingual and bilingual language modes of a Malay-English bilingual child. Since my paper studies about language mode, let me just briefly explain what this is. Language mode was introduced by Green in 1998, where he says that that a bilingual can determine which of their languages that they want to use when they speak. So they can choose to only speak in Malay, or they can choose to only speak in English, or they can choose to speak in both of their languages. So it's like with your mother, you speak in Malay, but with your friends, you choose to speak English and Malay. So basically, that's language modes. For my paper, what I wanted to investigate is the speech production of a Malay English bilingual primary school child when they narrate a story to a monolingual speaker and when they narrate to a bilingual speaker. For my methodology, it's similar than some of my friends where we elicited the participant's narrative using a wordless storybook. So she basically had to narrate a wordless storybook to two different speakers, a Malay speaker and also a Malay English speaker. So these two sessions had to be carried out to see which languages she would activate in these two different conditions. For the data analysis method, it's also similar, but I've used nconc for my one of the software instead of Quick. So for the result, based on my data, my participant had activated both of her languages during the Malay monolingual session. She had used both English and Malay, but 78% of it was in Malay. Similar to the bilingual session, she had also activated both of her languages, but this time she had activated more English lexicons. What I can say is that the variables that may affect the participant's language mode is number one, the participant's dominant language. So based on the information provided by her mother, the participant was exposed to English at a very young age and she uses it a lot with her mother, which shows why she had produced more English lexicons during the bilingual session, even though she was also exposed to Malay. And for the second variables, the interlocutor's language. So this can be seen during the monolingual session where she had produced a high number of Malay lexicons, even after she had mentioned that she was struggling to explain the storybook in Malay. She still had produced a high number of Malay lexicons since she was speaking to a Malay speaker. Okay.
One more
Am I
minute.
speaking too fast? Okay, it's good.
One more minute.
Okay, so my limitation of this project is that as I mentioned just now, this is it's a case study where the sample I used a small sample size as it was really hard to find and interact with many participants during this pandemic, and the time given was quite short. Another limitation is that there is a lack of study on language processing in Malaysia, which had caused difficulty in finding an accurate trend of Malay bilinguals. So my suggestion would be that future researchers should use a large number of sample size to provide more available data to understand bilingual children in Malaysia. Okay, that's all.
All right. Okay, 3 minutes 40 seconds.
Wow,
Which is not bad.
sorry.
It's okay. All right. Okay, so we have actually
Okay.
listened to all the presentations. All right. All right. So now I'm opening the floor to the audience. If you have any questions, you can shoot them now. They are ready. Anyone? Oh, no questions. Everyone like, yes, good. There are 83 participants here.
Assalamualaikum.
Okay, yes, Daniel.
Can I ask some questions?
Okay, please, shoot them.
All right. This is a great experience for them, kan?
Hmm.
Okay, so Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Daniel. You can call me Brother Daniel. Okay. So yeah, first and foremost, congratulations to all the presenter. You did very good. And you know, the studies are very interesting actually. And are very fresh, especially because you focus more on child, right? On child and primary school students, in which is not very much studies being done. So I have 3 questions for 3 presenters. Okay. So for presenter number 1, I think it's Sister Shazana, is it?
Now she's hiding.
Yes,
Alamak.
yes. I'm here. Yes.
So your topic is what again? The acquisition of
English
articles,
articles
right?
among ESL learners. Yeah.
Okay, so basically when you analyze the data, right, in your discussion, do you consider other characteristics that might influence their acquisition of articles? I mean, for example, such as their proficiency or their background knowledge. So how do you discuss that in your discussion? Because just now I did not, you did not mention on, you know, the participants' details, right? Whether they are very like advanced speaker of the English language or intermediate. So yeah, that's the
Okay.
question.
Thank you, Brother Daniel. If I may respond,
Yeah, you
I will
can.
attempt to respond your question. Good job.
Daniel, no questions. I already asked this question. We had rehearsal before.
Yeah, ke?
No questions is one question. I asked Shazana, think about that.
Because
Shazana, now it's already, you see, my predictions happen.
Oh dear.
Now answer it.
Okay. Right. Thank you, Brother Daniel. I understood. I didn't mention on what are the characteristics that I analyzed my data, but indeed, one of actually 2 characteristics I use in looking into my data before coming up to the conclusion, which is the first one is that I look at the children's L1 language. If I haven't mentioned before, the L1 language for all 4 children are actually Malay because they are of Malay race and their L1 is Malay language. And then the second characteristics that I looked into is that the home language being adopted at home. So the types of languages that the parents communicate with the children at home. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, good. Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so that's the first question. The second question is for Sister Amira.
Amira Faika.
Yes.
Yes.
So your topic is on home language environment. Apa tadi?
Yes. And vocabulary acquisition.
Okay, so this is a very interesting one, you know. Okay, so my question is, how do you define home language environment? Because when we talk about home language environment, it's very vague, right?
Yes.
You know, at home, there's a lot of ways on how the learners can acquire the language. In your case, I think, not article, what's the language that you focus on?
Basically just their vocabulary in general.
Vocabulary in general. So yeah, how do you define that? Is there any theory that supports the idea of home language environment? Because when we talk about home language environment, there's a lot of interaction, exposure. So you have like, interaction hypothesis. You can explain more from the zone of proximal development. You can explain more from Vygotsky sociocultural theory. So how do you define in your study home language environment? Because it needs to be defined. So that's my question.
Like you said, Brother Daniel, home language environment is really actually kind of vague and also very general. So what I did in my study was I classified them into three types. So media exposure, so the internet, television, radio and all that. Their interaction with adults and children around them. So like the adults and the peers. And finally, the parental participation that I specifically focus on because that's the one thing that they are different from each other. So um, despite all the studies that try to define the home language environment, what I did with myself was that it's kind of difficult to just relate to them because ours and theirs, what they basically did normally in the Western countries. So it kind of not applicable to ours. So I adapted the questions from Dr. Ruby's and also Sun et al. So that it will set our context, and that's why I divided them into three clusters by myself. Yes.
All right, thank you. So you just operationalize,
Yes.
home language environment to your context. So that's good. So you should do that actually, because this is your study. So how do you define that? So, okay. Thank you very much, Sister Amira.
Oh, thank you for the question too.
All right.
The last one, the last victim.
The, the third question is to Sister Anissa.
Anissa, okay.
Anissa.
Hello, hi.
Hi, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
What's the topic again just now?
Studying the my monolingual and bilingual language modes.
Okay, bilingual language, and the method is basically them speaking with with another participants, right? And
Yes,
interlocutor,
speaker,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So my question is, maybe you have this answer already, but it was not mentioned in the your presentation. So who is the other participant? Who is the interlocutor? Okay. Wait. It's not finished. All right. So when you have that, do you this is like a sub question to the topic, to the question, can do you, in your discussion of your data, do you include the dynamic and or the relationship between your participant with the other speaker? Because that the relationship dynamic can actually affect on how the participant use the language. So for instance, let's say if let's say the other speaker is a bit of stranger, or maybe not very the personality is not very fond to kids, so maybe the way on how they use the language is different. So did you actually include that in your discussion, or basically the limitation? Yep, that's my question.
Thank you, bro, Daniel. Okay, so for the first one is, what's the first one? Sorry.
Who is the
Oh,
other
okay.
speaker?
The interlocutor is
Yes.
between us,
Okay.
so all of us support each other, other's paper, and we also um help I transcribe the video, but my partner would also read and recheck the transcription. So for the dynamic, no, I did not mention about it in my discussion, as there was other things that I discussed, and there's like limits for us to write the paper. So but I do agree that we do have to discuss about the dynamic and the relationship between the participant and the speaker, as it does influence how they will produce more lexicons and words and that. So thank you for these suggestions.
Yep. Maybe you can just explain that in suggestion for future research.
Yeah.
Right. So yep.
Okay,
Thank you very
thank
much.
you.
Yep.
If I may have to add, because I'm the
Mm.
examiner for the thesis, I think she did mention it, but I don't know why she forgot.
Ah.
You did mention the dynamic. What a Daniel means dynamic is whether who is the stranger, who is the participant, who is the interlocutor itself. But I think Daniel is more expansive, as in
Okay.
what he meant. He want to see whether that kind of interactions affect. Yes, that part you did not include. But you did mention that your participants actually are interviewed by researchers, not their parents, not anyone that they know. That's like the dynamic. Gelabah ni. Aku baca.
I have another question in the question box.
Gelabah.
Very, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank
I think they are just nervous.
Yes, it too.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Those are very interesting questions, and trigger all those, trigger them. All right. Thank you so much, Daniel. Anyone else?
I think that's the question that I can
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
yes. And mostly is whether I think because for this FYP, most of them have over 50 pages. Can you imagine the analysis is over for the whole thing is 50 pages. So to compress that to 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah,
I can
it's hard.
imagine.
So of course, that's why I asked them to present first and let the audience ask questions.
Betul.
So if there are things missing, they can just, say it because it's not possible. Even for 20 minutes, but I don't think so. For 50
Betul, that's
pages work,
true.
right? It's not,
Especially
sorry,
for language majors like us, we tend to speak a
pages.
lot. So
Yes.
imagine to walk down to 3 minutes. Like susah.
But your question's good. At least it, bring something that is not mentioned in the presentation. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Yes.
So, okay, we have questions here. The last presenter, siapa?
Anissa.
It's me.
Oh, Anissa lah. Ya
Anissa.
Allah. I want to ask last presenter, is language modes the same as code switching?
Okay, I'll just
What do you
answer.
understand?
From what I know, I think it's not the same because like code switching is that you shift from one language to another, but language mode it basically like defines what mode you are in, whether you are like you are in the Malay monolingual mode, which you speak only Malay, or you are in the bilingual mode, which you speak both of the languages. Like the example I gave, when you're with your mom, you won't speak English, so you are in the monolingual mode. So yeah, so it's not the same.
Okay, you can teach psycholink after this. I can go do my research elsewhere. All right, so now Amira Husna. Salam to all. I have a question for Sister Shazana. Okay, Shazana, what initiated you to study on children's usage of articles? I find it interesting because we often terlepas pandang, overlook about articles. So I wonder what led you to that. Okay, Shazana.
Right. This is thank you to the sister who proposed the question. So actually have a couple of like events that led me to this study, but the closest one is that it's from my niece. She's a girl, my niece. She stayed in Japan for 4.5 years and she came back to Malaysia. So clearly she didn't know how to speak in Malay. So while she was visiting my house, we did converse in English, but I noticed that she was leaving out a lot of the articles. Like for instance, like when she was referring to things around my house, like my cats, she just mentioned the noun for it, like book, cats, like that. But she was very fluent in Japanese. So that is something that I wanted to look into, like, okay, how does a person who have both Malay parents is fluent in Japanese and leave out English language when in fact in her preschool her mode of learning is actually English. So that's one of the reasons. I wouldn't go more into that because it will be boring, but I hope that answers your question.
All right. Yeah, that's a good answer. Okay, anyone else you want to ask the FYP students? Are you clear? Or anyone's here?
Maybe you guys want to ask about our experience.
Yes, we have
Where we
15 minutes left because I promised it until 9:15, so we have 15 minutes left. Do you want to ask them their experience?
Assalamualaikum, Doctor. Can I ask them a question?
Yeah. Shakir, continue.
Okay. Assalamualaikum and a very good evening. My name is Muhammad Shakir Aiman. So I have a question for all of the presenter. So when you seek for the participant, did you necessarily give them in back, such as payment or so on?
No,
Do you
someone will,
understand my question?
bagi hadiah kan?
Yes, like something in return for their participation and so on.
Does compliment count? Complimenting them?
Because I've heard before,
Mhm.
I'm not sure where, somehow, like when they knew that they will get something in return, they managed to do it properly, compared to when either they don't know they will get something or they will not get any of them.
Yes, you're right. You're right. I think I'll just answer for the rest of for the all of them. No, the thing is, one, we don't have money. That's the obvious one. And number two, also because most of the data collections are not, because of the pandemic, is virtually. So it's hard to give them something unless you want to give them money, which again goes back to number one. We don't have money. So you see, so it's like, all right. Yeah, but you bring up a very interesting theory. By giving them some like a consolation prize, they actually perform more, which is actually Shaki. That is the whole. You can do a whole lot of study. One whole study on that. You can do one one research on that.
Thank you so much, doctor.
One group you give consolation prize. One group tak payah. And then compare
And
their
one group, just compliment only.
one group tak three lah, satu compliment, satu bagi hadiah, satu tak ada apa, macam okay, thank you, bye. You see
Noted.
lah the motivation whether they want to perform or not.
And one more thing, okay, I know it's kind of silly for this question. Let's say if one of us or some of us wanted to give the prize or money, we have to use our own money, right, doctor?
Yes, unfortunately. No one, siapa ada duit? No one has money.
Okay.
You,
Thank you
but
so much.
for my for my own research, the big one, what I did was I give certificate, but to the parents. See, susah juga. I give certificate to the parents. But when I conducted my data before, this was pre-pandemic time, we give lollies, candies, lollies. Dorang can perform lah. But you're right. But again, you have to consider the limitations during the pandemic. And how are we going to give that? And then certificate tu benefits apa actually? More the parents than the
And the
children.
children.
Children apa dia nak buat certificate?
Okay, thank you so much, doctor.
All right, thank you, Shakir. Very interesting questions. Do we have any more questions you can ask these students? If you don't have any questions, I want to ask the participants. Can you please fill in the look at the chat? There's that feedback form. Okay, that one secondary. But I also want to ask if anyone from the audience can answer. Do you think this session is helpful for you?
Yes.
Who's answering? I tak tahu. Kejap. Do you think this helps, especially the 181 students? Because the reason I wanted to organize this is considering the 181 student, they don't know what's happening, all right? And the department, of course, now busy and all that. We will do it. We will do the FYP briefing later, all right? But not now. It's just that now that these students have completed their FYP, so I forced them. So at least I think from this, I will upload this recording later on YouTube. You can have a look. Most important for the 181 students, you look at the methodology, how they do it, how they conduct that, and how many participants are needed. You don't want to be ambitious too, because this is not masters, these are not PhDs. Okay, tak boleh lah 100 participants are. 4 tahun lagi lah grad. Tak payah lah grad. All right. So I think for FYP, you have to bear in mind you are what do you call that term, a newbie, a noob in research. So that's why if you notice, most of the students, they have like 3 or 4 participants and only looking at certain elements like verbs, nouns, yeah. So you don't have to, and sometimes like Mardi's research, if you don't remember Mardi's research, she did on teachers and parents' perceptions, she doesn't even look at the children's performance. She just look at how the teachers and parents view the performance. So that is doable too. That is also okay. Perceptions are also okay for FYP, not for masters. So okay, this session offers some good insight. Okay, good. All right. So any questions to the participants?
Doctor, there's a question in the chat by one Anissa. She asked, she said, Assalamualaikum to all. I want to ask, how do you guys manage to find participants during the pandemic?
That's a very good question. This is a questions should be directed to me because they are my FYP. So I give them the parents number, they contact. That is one way. All right, that is one way. So I don't know about how other supervisors would do it.
So do it with Dr. Ruby.
Yes. So I have a lot of contact. So I just give them, but I don't contact them. I just inform the parents, okay, some of my minions will contact you. Can you please engage them? That's it. Yeah. So I don't really get involved with that. It's just that maybe I have contacts. So my contacts help them. Right? But there's a very good question. How do you guys manage to find participants during the pandemic? All right. That is one thing you have to bear in mind too. So from one Anissa's questions, for the other FYP students, you also have to think of this as these limitations too. So hence, think about how are you going to approach, especially if you want to do children on parents. These are some things. What I'm saying is that do not be too overly ambitious. You want to say, okay, 100 participants. Yeah, yeah. Unless if you want to do on parents, children, usually if you want to approach children, you have to seek the parents. And where are parents available on social media? Where? Ni kena fikir kat mana? I'm asking you question now. Ni macam kelas dah ni. Which of all social media, which platforms parents are most, they're all wrong? Yes, good. Facebook. Yes, actually, if you want to find older participants, go to Facebook. Those are a lot of makcik. Okay, the 40s and above are a lot there. And they will be likely to help you. Right, Twitter more, yes, but we don't have Ajda. Ajda presented, one of the students, one of my FYP students, she did on newly coined words on Twitter, and her participant is Malaysian undergraduate students. And where did she get all that? From Twitter. And from Twitter is okay because that matched the population. But if you want to look at FB punya population lain, Twitter, Instagram punya lain. So you have to think of all those things. So where do you get your participants? That's a very good question. Yeah, one Anissa. All right. Any new message? Facebook. Good. Okay. Any more you want to ask?
Doctor, if I may add to your point about the participants, they have to take into consideration on looking up for more participants as their backup plan. Sebab in my case, I had parents who withdrew at the very last minute. So I had to WhatsApp other people to be my participants in my study. So they have to look at that as well.
Very good. Alia?
Oh, on that note, can I also add something?
Please.
Parents, especially working parents, are very busy. So during when I did this, I had to contact them like 3 times before they actually, except for Dr. Ruby, because I use her.
Sorry?
So except for Dr. Ruby, like the other 2 parents, I had to contact them for at least 3 times before they answered the questionnaire because they literally overlooked the questionnaire and my messages on WhatsApp. They were very busy. So one of my advice is to constantly check up and jangan macam once you message them and you tell okay then they will answer. No.
Yeah.
So you have to
check up on them lah sebenarnya.
Yeah. Yes, politely harass them.
Remind. No, that is a very common thing because I think for parents they just, I don't know, I only have one child, I forget things a lot. I don't know those who have 4, 5, ya Allah. Ya Rab. So that is common. So you cannot blame them. There's just too much, especially now with work from home.
Yes.
Okay, if just I don't know if anyone noticed this. If you look at all these parties, all these speakers, all the presenters, they look at mainly the mothers. So perhaps this is just an open suggestion. So for 181 students, you can look at your data tu, boleh tengok fathers pula. Fathers punya perceptions. Because if you look at all the data kan, semua mak tu yang bagi jawapan tu. All our mothers. We rarely hear about the fathers. I'm intrigued to know what the father. In fact, there are many some research that I read about fathers when they communicate. When it comes to communication, is that children, they tend to behave more. When it comes, their speech is more formal when they speak to the fathers compared to their speak to the mothers. But that one is again overseas. So you can think what I'm saying now is I'm putting it there. Think about studies on fathers. So because all my FYP has presented and they get data from mothers, it would be very interesting to get data like from a group of fathers. Right? And that would, Daniel, that would also macam give some direction on the dynamic of the language itself, kan?
Yeah,
Bapak yang macam jawab. So, but
relationship.
yes, but I don't know. I think one thing about interviewing fathers, you can macam, you have to poke them a bit because fathers don't actually give you the.
That's true.
Yeah, they might give you one line. Yes.
They
Your
basically
parent,
don't care that
yeah.
much lah, basically.
But you have to
overall.
macam grill them like, okay, what do you mean by yes? Yes, what do you mean? Right? So maybe future FYP students, think about that. Interviewing bapak-bapak. That is interesting. That is publishable. I can assure you that is publishable. Because
Mother versus father, kan?
Sorry?
Mother versus father.
Yeah,
perception
mothers versus fathers.
of how, that would be very interesting.
Yeah, sebab mothers biasalah mak kan, bapak. All right. Okay, very good. Any questions? We have 5 more minutes left. Okay, can it minimize? Okay. No more questions. Everything's clear. The participant, I don't know. now it feels like class lah.
They already finished lah, doctor.
Sorry?
They already finished lah. FYP2.
Yes, done.
Done.
They have submitted.
It must be a huge relief, kan?
Yeah.
Like, finally.
Yes, finally. I feel like now I feel like a Kak Long. Like, a proud Kak Long. No, not Mak Long. Kau Mak Long aku buang terus. Proud Kak Long, because I feel like they have done a lot. For 2 semesters during the pandemic, kan? You can see there's a lot.
It's hard.
Yes.
You should be proud of yourself, guys.
Yes, I think they deserve a round of applause.
Yes, congratulations.
Congratulations, yeah. All right, okay. So having said that, I think can everyone just turn on your camera so we can take a photography, a photography session. Just screenshot je, senyum je. So we have, all right. So you just smile. Okay, everyone's ready? Just turn on your camera and smile. Kejap, belum. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, lagi satu. Jap. Ada banyak orang. Okay. 1. Okay, sorry. Jap. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. Okay, so I will yes.
Doctor,
yes.
Can you just remind again about the form that they have
okay. We have the
survey
form, the feedback form. Please,
feedback form.
Yeah, that one in chat. So just fill that in to give us whether this session is beneficial or not. Okay. All right. All right. So this session, those who maybe arrive a bit late, I will upload this session on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. So especially 181 students, you can refer again to that to the sessions. And I don't know. Maybe you can ask later, not now. I mean, outside the session, after the session, you can ask my students too for their, if you want some advice or anything. I think they would be happy to help you. I think. Can.
Yeah.
I think they would be happy to help.
They can ask
Yeah.
other than Faik also. Sian Faik seorang je kena call center.
Yeah. Ada Mardi, Shazani. Mana
Yeah.
Shazani? Akilah ada. There's a lot. Okay, there are 8 of them. Ajda's not here. If you know Ajda, you can ask Ajda too. So all of them, I have to tell you, all of them did well. I'm not going to reveal their marks, but they all passed. They all passed FYP2. None of them failed. All right. Okay. So yeah, you can ask them, and I'm really proud of them. Inshallah, we'll see each other again soon. Okay. So with that, kita tak buka dengan Al-Fatihah kan? Ya Allah, secularnya kalau session very secular, ya Allah. All right. Okay, with that, we'll just end the session. Yeah? Okay, I'll see you around inshallah. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Bye.